Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TBM crew. Today I'm with R Jacob Honeybrook, horror author. How are you?
Hey, doing really well. Thanks for having me today.
I'm so happy to have you here and finally meeting you.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a while working together, so it's finally nice to put a face
Yes.
and name.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your work, about your books?
Yeah, sure. So right now I have about three books out, mainly based in the horror genre. So
Hmm.
the first one I put out was April Awakening. That was just kind of about a guy who gets lost in the woods, meets up with this like mysterious girl while they're lost, and they just have all these weird experiences in there.
Yes.
And it has pretty twist ending that I think people are gonna really dig. Um, Other one out called Devils in the Night. That was the second one I published.
Hmm.
It's about a guy that hates his job, doesn't really have much of a life going on. I feel like a lot of people can kind of relate to that, just kind of
Yes, I
stuck
was
in the
going to
same.
say the same.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of the same deal meets this mysterious entity when he's working the night shift,
Hmm.
and then they just go off, have all these crazy experiences. That was kind of like everything April Awakening wasn't. A lot of blood, sex, violence, that kind of thing. Um, at a 180 there, and that one definitely ups all of that.
Okay.
And then Roadkill Blues, that's more just kind of straight up crime, but pretty gritty. Girl steals some diamonds. Well, that's kind of like the twist, so I gave that away. But this girl kind of she's on her way to meet some friends out on the other part of the country. Gets stopped by these shady sheriffs in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and just craziness happens. Lots of good shootouts, violence, that kind of stuff. I actually just watched a bunch of Quentin Tarantino flicks over a couple days,
Yeah.
drank a bunch of beer, and then wrote that. So that's what happened there. That's my inspiration, the creative process.
That's awesome. I think that we who are Tarantino fans, it's
Mm-hmm.
also present in everything we do. You just can ignore
Oh,
that side of you. And how do you think that the thriller or dark thriller matches with horror? Where's that zone?
yeah, sure. So when it comes to thriller, I always think of that as like a lot of psychological stuff
Hmm.
going on. So you want to keep people kind of on the edge of their seat. You want that suspense factor up. You want them to keep guessing what's going on.
Hmm.
Kind of like you're hiding a bit of the story. You're not necessarily giving them everything they need to know. To me, that helps keep people on the edge of their seat, so
Yes.
that reveal or there is a twist when you finally find out the whole story. All that tension, all that stress factor that you've been building up throughout the story, then it has that payoff with the big reveal. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it was building to, or oh, that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
So that keep things going.
Yes. And do you have any, or can you think of any movie or book, um, like for example, that people consider horror and you think it's thriller or backwards? Because it happens to me sometimes.
Sure, sure. I would say honestly, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I recently just read Crime and Punishment,
Hmm.
and I feel like a lot of that could almost be crossover into horror genre instead of thriller,
Yeah.
just because if you don't know the story, it's about this poor guy. He kills a pawnbroker lady to, try to get ahead in life. And then he just has all these weird hallucinations. Like he's not himself. He's really sick. So I think a lot of the hallucinations, what he sees, could
Yeah.
almost be considered a horror book in some sense.
Hmm.
Um, on the same accord, I used to be big into video games back in the day, and
Uh-huh.
there was always this Silent Hill 2. It was considered a horror game.
Hmm.
But when you play through it and you see everything and what's happened, it definitely veers more towards like a psychological thriller than just straight up horror because there's a lot more to it. And
Hmm.
that's really what I for is putting like jump scares and everything. That's great. Slashers are great. I really like the more mature aspect that gets in somebody's head and kind of stays there, makes you
Yes.
think, it keeps you coming back to it. That's where I really think the horror genre shines when it kind of crosses over into that suspense thriller territory and really messes with your head that way.
Hmm. Yes, I think so too. It also depends on where everyone has their bar, their fear bar, so to speak. Yes, because sometimes it happens to me that they send me movies or books saying beware, extreme horror, you know. And when I read it, I think, okay, it's fine, but it's not stealing my sleep, you know.
Yeah,
But maybe another person is going to read it and think that it's actually extreme horror. So I guess there's a bit personal there.
for sure. And I've had people read mine, especially April Awakening, and they say,
Yes.
"Yeah, I guess I can horror, but it strikes me more as like a drama
Mm-hmm.
or sad story. While there's horror elements to it, I don't know. That was like a pretty big compliment to me because like it actually showed that it wasn't just like straight up blood and guts or whatever people construe horror as. It actually
Mm,
got people thinking. To hear like, oh yeah, it seemed like so much more than just one genre. It was
yes.
this to me. It was that really meant a lot for sure.
Yes. It's a very organic, moving genre. It's like, for example, sometimes I think of Criminal Minds, which is a show that I like a lot. There's
Yeah,
a few episodes of Criminal Minds that they are pure horror. Like that guy that dissects the animals. How you say it in English? That they dry them, like to make a puppet of the animals that they hunt. I don't know how you
yeah. They,
say. Sorry, what?
they taxidermy them.
Yes, yes. And this
Hmm.
guy puts the eyes of his victims in those
Mm-hmm.
animals, you know.
Oh
So
damn.
yeah. And that's a Criminal Minds episode. So I think that sometimes, it's like, well, this is a bit horror,
Right.
So that's very interesting. And do you see a difference in your characters, in your general characters, in the books, in your work, when it's more stepping on horror than it's when it's stepping on thriller? Are your characters different in the tone or the background?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that when it comes to horror, I like to more write like the everyman character, just kind of like a normal dude lost in this wild world. Um, a lot of like Twilight Zone influences because I went through a period where I just watched like every episode of that, and a
Yes.
lot of times people put in these just wild situations, whether it be time travel, ghosts, aliens, whatever. Um, I always think horror hits home whenever you have that relatable character. Like, hey, I'm just a normal guy, but in April Awakening, there's all this crazy stuff going on in the woods. I recently started hiking when I wrote that, so I was just some schlub walking around the woods. I'm like, man, it started happening to me. Well, where this would go. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration for that. So yeah, definitely when it comes to horror, just kind of sticking to the everyman character, give something relatable that they can kind of latch onto when all this craziness is going on. But when it came to more like the crime writing, like Roadkill Blues, I have another one I haven't quite published yet. Still working
Yes.
on that, but they're more like, I guess, experienced characters, a little more hard to everything. Just because if you've been in the crime game a while, you're kind of more of like I don't want to say scumbag, but maybe like kind of more a little less relatable. I don't think anybody would read The Godfather and be able to relate to Michael Corleone or anything like that. Uh, so when it comes to crime writing, I definitely put more, you know, thinking like these guys are either career police officers
Yeah.
and they're like hardened, jaded kind of people, or if it's on the other side and they're criminals. They've been at this a while. They're probably not good people if they're stealing jewels and killing
Yes.
people. And so I kind of approached it a little bit different in that sense.
Yeah. Sometimes thinking of what you were saying, it seems that, at least I think more maybe in horror movies than in books, the characters many times are not very smart. you know?
Right.
Like they just run towards death.
Right. But are there, but the killer's that way. We should probably run towards the killer.
Exactly. It's like there's a noise in the basement. Let's go there alone with a flashlight that doesn't work. you know?
Right. Got to split up like Scooby Doo. Let's split up and get picked
Yes,
off that way.
yes, that I don't know exactly why is that, because when you are watching the movie, you're yelling to that person, saying, "But just don't do that. That's a horrible idea."
Yeah, sure. If we can pick it out, like, what are you guys doing? Come on.
And have you seen um an evolution since you started writing
Hmm.
in your work
Yeah,
as a writer?
yeah, for sure. I have. I wrote a couple before I even published anything. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I did a couple short stories before I really felt anywhere like worthy of being published.
Yes.
And when I first started my full length, I didn't really have an outline. I didn't really have a summary, anything like that. Um, I was just a guy who hated my job at the time and needed an outlet.
Mhm.
So I just started writing one day and see where it went.
Yeah,
And like, awesome. It was great. You know, I got like probably 50,000 words down pretty quickly.
that's awesome.
Um, Point I was like, well, where the hell is this going? So I should probably figure that out. So as time progressed and as I work on each story, I still kind of do that to a sense. I don't really like planning things out that much. I just like to write and see where it goes.
Okay.
Um, but usually, what I'll eventually do is put an outline together, put a summary together, and then that way I can keep myself on track. Especially if I'm getting kind of lost in the shuffle. You know, if all this stuff's happening, I need some kind of direction. So that's when I start putting my outline together, start putting the summary together. It's totally ass backwards, but
Mhm.
that's how I work. Is just kind of start writing and see where it goes. Because I
Hmm.
know if I put time trying to plan stuff out, I probably just won't do it. So that's my strategy.
That's very interesting how there's these two kind of writers. The one like
Mm-hmm.
you, that they just
Yeah.
flow with whatever it comes, and the ones that really need the structure. I think that what you do is much more difficult
Mm.
because, yeah, and haven't you found yourself in a dead end that you had
Oh
to
yeah.
go back and rewrite like
Mm-hmm.
part of the book?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's definitely probably more difficult that way.
Yeah.
um, that's just kind of like it kind of reflects my personality that way. Like I live my life that way. Like, all right, happens today. If we make it through today, let's see what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Yes.
Um, right. I do the same thing. Like, let's write tonight, get 1,000 words down, see where we're at. And if we get stuck, if a bunch of stuff happens I didn't expect, well, then we can go start the out, go from there to try to keep ourselves on track. Whether or not that works all the time is debatable, but we can try.
Yes, I was talking a few months ago to another author, William Sterling, that he was
Mm-hmm.
saying he's the same than you. So he just makes the stories, and he was saying, if I don't know what's going to happen, I'm going to
Yeah,
surprise the readers because I don't even know what's going to happen. They're like,
right.
oh, he's dead.
Surprise.
Surprise. Okay,
No,
then,
I love. Yeah, I love the same way because I want to see where the story goes, let it breathe naturally, and I feel like if I had this structured plan out there, I don't know, maybe I'm not getting like the full emotional impact. Maybe I'm not, using my full creativity. While it's already planned out in my head, that's great. But if I can kind of feel the story and go with it as I go along, to me, like I can put like more of myself in it. I can put more of my thoughts and feelings into it.
Yeah.
Where I having, like a structured plan. So
Yeah.
it's funny. Learned about story structure and everything. The woman I learned it from, she was like hardcore into like planning, 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 planning. That, let me sit down and write something first and see what happens. Let me take that step and that. So
Yes. Yes, it just works different for everyone. Like I can
yeah.
understand that because I can write. I wrote a paragraph and I'm already bored of myself, but but I draw, and when they ask me for drawings that are very detailed, like I want this and that, I just can't do it. It's
Right.
too much, because my drawings are like sketches. I like vroom, boom.
Yeah.
And when they have to be very detailed, I can. But when there's an
Mm-hmm.
author that says just a concept, like the book goes about this, just do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want, then there I have 20 drawings for him.
Yeah.
So I can
Right.
sort of understand that. That's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I also think maybe like this, it's easier like when you've finished a book to make a spin-off of a character or something like that, because if you don't have it closed, I don't know, have you
Mm-hmm.
thought of that?
Yeah, for sure. Somebody just brought that up to me the other night. With Roadkill Blues, they're like, "Oh, you should write a story on how the protagonist got into like jewel heists and what
Mm-hmm.
happened after." All those good ideas. I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see myself doing that. Um, and just I love leaving stuff open ended too, because people's imaginations are always, more wild than anything you can put on paper.
Yeah.
Um, like some of the best movies, you obviously don't want somebody to be totally lost, but you want some questions open out there. So like I try not to explain every single detail whenever I'm writing. I try to be open to the reader to kind of interpret.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely a fine line though, because you don't want them to read it and be like, "Well, what the hell was that?"
Yeah.
But you also don't want to give away piece by piece by piece so that they can't use any imagination at all.
Yes. Well, I like when like books or even movies don't have
Mm-hmm.
like that closed end. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
not a huge cliffhanger because like okay, I need an end. But what I was watching the other day, a movie called Trip that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know about it. I found it on YouTube, free
Mm-hmm.
horror full movies for free on YouTube, and you have a bunch in there.
Oh, look
Yes,
into that.
yes, and Trip, it's very good, but it's one of these movies that left you thinking it. Um, is she crazy? Was it all a dream? This really happened? You know that they leave you that little space for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very interesting, and maybe is what makes readers go back to you again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
If there's not, sometimes they make like a spin-offs of books or characters when they had closed a lot the ending,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they don't work very well, like it feels forced, right? Like
Right.
if that was so closed, maybe
Yeah.
right.
Story's over. The arc's completed. There's not. But yeah, one of the I always go back to about leaving stuff open is Joker from I think 2018. If
Yes,
you heard, yeah. Um, so like at the end of that, there's a couple things that just make you question, like, well, did any of that happen? Did some of it happen? Was it all in his head? Man, I went down like a YouTube rabbit hole for like a week.
exactly. Yes.
All that.
So now I was thinking, if this is your way of writing, do you like joining anthologies that are themed?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact,
Hmm?
I was thinking that with all of my work at some point because right now I have two novelettes and a short story published.
Yes.
And what I do is I'm sitting on a couple full length novels. Is release the novel, put the novelettes in it, put the short story in it, maybe a couple of other short stories that I write, and then just releasing that as just like a complete collection of everything.
Hmm.
Um, and then that way you get like a total package. Here's everything I wrote. Enjoy.
That's awesome. And the ones from presses, for example, you know that they say like open call anthology about demons in the summer. I don't know. So that must be very difficult. Like if I can write a paragraph in freestyle, imagine if they tell me what it's about.
Right, right. You just kind of have to. That's almost like a writing exercise, I guess. I've looked at those before and used those
Mm.
to practice, just for like inspiration, like writing prompts. Um, just off the top of my head, I remember one like the writing prompt was a girl disappears and she comes back, but like her soul's in a doll. It's like
Yeah.
okay, the
Okay.
plot, which is fun to do for writing prompts for sure. But yeah, when I sit down, I just kind of want to have a blank piece of paper and just you know think up my own weird thoughts
Yeah.
and go from. And I was always like that in school too. Like anytime we had a writing assignment or like you were saying an art assignment, I always hated like doing what they told us to write about or like drawing what they told us to draw. I was just like, man, just give me a blank piece of paper
Yeah.
and like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'll come up with something.
Yes. Exactly. It's very difficult when you can. It's difficult to stick to plan. Ah,
Yeah.
yes. And even schools should be more open with those
Mhm.
things because not all the kids are the same. Maybe some
Right.
kids, when they have too many instructions, they just get blocked. And I think as adults, it happens the
Yeah.
same sometimes, right?
Yeah.
What is the most difficult part of your writing process? Of everything you do from the
Yeah.
beginning to the end, what's the most difficult, challenging part?
Sure. Honestly, I think the most part is some days after, working all day, getting
Hmm?
up early, working
Yeah,
home, going to the most difficult time for me is sometimes just turning on the computer and getting to work. Um, when
yeah,
it comes to story structure, when it comes to planning things out, writing 1,000 words a day that I try to do, Never really have a problem with that. Knock on wood, I've never really gotten writer's block too much. I always have
Yes,
something going on.
that's
Um,
great.
yeah, but yeah, sometimes the most difficult part is just I like to write at night, so just getting home after a hard day's work and just finding that
Yeah.
that motivation, just hit the power button on the computer. I know if I do that and I start writing, I'm gonna be in the clear. But man, some days that couch is
Yeah.
looking pretty good to get off and start
Yeah.
writing 1,000. Damn sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe that is also a physical thing. I mean, when you're tired and your brain is tired, it's difficult. It's difficult to do things. It happens to me, for example, with these time zone things.
Mm,
Um,
yes.
yeah, sometimes like because there's the three time zones that I work with more or less, like the Eastern, that it's 6 hours, Central, that it's 7, and Pacific, that it's 9. So when it's 9 hours away from me and they can only make the interviews in their afternoon
Mm-hmm.
because they work, whatever, it's like I have to be up at 4 a.m. to make
Sure.
an interview. And I do, but I realize that my brain is not the same. I'm not as awake like I'm now, even if I
Sure.
try.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's something similar to you. I mean, our brain has a capacity and an energy. So
Yeah,
it's
for
really.
sure.
Mhm.
That's where that comes into it. You really got to like what you do. You got to you got to want what you like. I mean, it happens, daily pretty much. I'm a personal trainer by day, and I tell that to my clients all the time. I say, if you give yourself one excuse not to go to the gym, you're gonna give
Yeah.
yourself an excuse every day, and the next thing you know, a month's gonna go by. Oh, I haven't been to the gym. Same with my writing. If I give myself an excuse. Oh, I'm tired tonight. I don't want to write. Um, Easily a month could go by, 2 months could go by, and I haven't written anything. Um, so that's just part of keeping motivated, part of
Mm,
keeping that discipline. That even when you're tired, that's when you got to push through the most and just suck it up and do it.
exactly. That's what they say, that discipline takes over when you don't have motivation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
When you want
That's
to do
kept.
something, yes, you cannot have
Mhm.
motivation all the time. Our brain is not like that. So there's always
For
a
sure.
point where you have to have discipline. I have a teacher that used to say, every time you made an excuse, like, I don't know, because I was tired, I couldn't do it, she always said, yeah, an excuse will do. You know,
Mhm.
she always said that, an excuse will do. Yeah, yeah. It
Yep.
didn't matter, what you said. And at that moment was so annoying. But now I understand.
Get it right. Yep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. Next thing you know, tomorrow is like 3 weeks down the line.
And do you like watching movies?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. It seems a silly question, but would you be surprised how many people say no, I actually don't watch movies? Yeah, it's strange, right? In the horror, even more in the horror community. But
For sure. Yeah.
that I have found it. Which kind of movies do you like? Do you have one's favorite kind of?
Yeah. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, I brought him up before. He's definitely one of my favorite directors. I just love his style. How majority of his movie could just be talking, but it just feels so just cool. I guess like he just writes cool characters that you get invested in.
Yeah.
And then crazy violence like in Kill Bill or whatever. Then that's just kind of the icing on the cake. Man, this is awesome. Those are like definitely my favorites, top tier. But if it's just like a Saturday night, I'm just sitting around eating pizza or whatever, I'll throw on like a slasher flick, like
Yeah.
Jason, Michael
Yes.
Myers. And I really like finding like the underground stuff. So like just going on like Netflix and just finding something I've never heard of before,
Yeah.
and just being like, this is either gonna be awesome or it's gonna suck, and we're gonna find out. Uh, like like that, or I'll go on like Google or whatever, and I'll just type in like most disturbing movies ever made, and then I'll just like try to find one of those and pick out and just see like, okay, see how
Yes.
disturbing this is.
Yes. Sometimes I like watching these best worst movies. You know?
Um,
Yes. Like this kind of monster ones, the Attack of the Killer Couch or things like that.
yeah, well, high school, man, we had just these most low budget horror movies on these DVD packs that my buddy would get. We
Yes.
must have had hundreds of movies on these things. Like it was 50 a box. and man, they were for budget, like Z level horror films, and some of them were just so bad they were the best things I've ever seen.
Have you ever stopped watching a movie because it was too bad? That you felt you
No,
were wasting your life?
yeah, yeah. Um, if it's like an hour in and I'm just not feeling it or something, I'll be like, all right, I gotta go do something, or I can be doing something other than this. I usually try to see everything the whole way through, but man, if it's dragging, then I gotta check out.
Yes, it's happened to me. Sometimes, I
I,
mean, I try to give them a chance, like, let's see, maybe
yeah,
it's going to change. But sometimes I think if you have to struggle 1 hour or 40 minutes in a movie, like to get to something good,
yeah,
maybe it's not worth it. I think that only like once or twice I've done like a couple weeks ago I was watching one that it absolutely made no sense. Like what am I watching? But it wasn't
right,
funny either because like
yeah,
there are things that make no sense, like The Evil Dead or things like that. That it's just funny, and you
right.
don't care that it doesn't make sense. It's funny,
I'll tell you what's
but
been
hmm,
movies that are 3 hours long. Like very
yeah,
rarely do I want
yeah,
anything. I think that's part of why I like writing short stuff. It's just like, man, get it like 90 minutes. Give me in and out.
yeah,
If you got to keep 2 hours, that's cool. But man, when they start getting 2.5, 3 hours, it can be a slog sometimes.
yeah. I know. Sometimes when I watch the time,
Yeah,
say, "Wow, 2 hours! Wow, okay." I hope it's good
yeah,
because I'm very nervous. I'm a very nervous person, and it's difficult for me to stay there. Like all that time. And
mm-hmm.
when it's a slow, it's like things. Well, because it's not horror, but things like the Lord of the Rings and all. I can't with that. And the other day, I made a comment. I don't know who I had. I had this friend in front of me say me, oh, "You're a hater." I can't believe it. Said, "No, I mean, yeah, I know that all the entire world love the Lord of the Rings, but I can't finish a movie. I mean, 15 minutes and I'm already wanting to leave. Like it's this guy walking in a meadow for 3 hours."
I got to disagree with you, man. I love those movies.
No.
So I'm gonna have to leave as well.
I don't know. I think I'm too nervous for that. I mean, I can appreciate that it's well done.
Yeah,
Like it's great but it's slow.
yeah. I trust me. I've had movies like that too, where people are like, "Oh man, you got to see it. You got to see it." And I look at it as 3 hours long. I'm just like, when am I gonna watch this? I know I mentioned them before, but like the Godfather movies, like I would love to see the Godfather movies, but
Yes.
they're so long. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I gotta carve out a lot of time for this. I don't know if I can sit through that. What I do sometimes, like with mini series or whatever, I'll just like
Yeah.
break it up. Like maybe I'll do like an hour here, an hour there.
Yes.
That helps me get through some of them because man, when you start getting into that 2.5, 3 hour mark, I'll break
That's
it
a
up to
lot.
make a series out of it.
Which is what is the last movie that you've watched?
Yeah, so the last one I saw was Terrifier 2. I want to see that in
Oh, what do
theaters.
you think? Because I've heard reviews of any kind. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome, but like
Okay.
we were saying, it's too long. Like it's about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and
Yes.
for a clown
Wow.
going around,
What? How long?
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Holy cow.
I mean,
How
it
many
was
things happen?
right. Yeah, it was good. I mean, it kept my attention, but I think it would have been better off like 2 hours. I think they could have cut a lot out, and the kills are really cool too. But I think if they were more like boom, 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 and not so
Yeah.
spaced out, yeah, I think like 90 minutes to 2 hours that would have been good. The 2:45, it was near the end for me at least. Kind of dragged a little bit, but I would definitely recommend it for sure, especially if you like the first one.
Wow. I didn't know it was that long. They
Mm-hmm.
could have done two movies out of it.
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's
Like
a
okay,
lot. Hmm. I wanted to watch, but I didn't finally. I wanted to watch a
Mhm.
Smile that they were
Oh,
doing it here, but the problem I have is that the movies here, when they are at the
mhm.
cinema, they are in Spanish. And I
Okay,
refuse to see anything in Spanish. I want the original version.
I
So
hear
there
you.
was only this tiny cinema in Barcelona that it's like independent kind of, but I couldn't go finally because it was too specific the times that they had. But I really want to watch Smart. Have you watched it or the trailer?
I've seen the trailer and I've heard like mixed reviews at it. I kind of heard the same deal. It's good up until the end. So
Yes.
I don't know what all happens, but I still want to see it.
Yes, I think it's good, but I'm afraid that it might be one of those movies that they put all the good things in the trailer.
Yeah, yeah. There's been a couple of those.
Right? That it seems so exciting and with lots of action and lots of scare jumps. And then you watch the
Hmm.
movie and it's so boring,
Yeah, yeah. I've seen a couple of those.
right? So, yeah, I think, I don't know. And
Yeah,
where would you like to see the horror genre go? What is something you think really the horror community should go in this direction or the other or do this together? Something you
yeah,
miss?
yeah. I know there's been like a lot of, especially in horror, just like so many movies, especially just so many remakes, so many just
Yeah,
like battles.
too many.
But yeah, I'd like to just see some more originality, right? It feels like every time I turn around, something's being remade, something has a sequel to it, which I mean can be a good thing for sure. But I mean, do we really need to remake Nightmare on Elm Street, like, or do we need
No,
a movie?
no.
So I mean, like, I get why they do it. People are gonna watch it. It's guaranteed money, but at the same time, I would like to see more original ideas come through. Like
Yeah.
I know I listened to one of the podcasts Rob Zombie was on, and he was saying if he had the ideas he had nowadays, there's no way he'd be able to make the movie. You know, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, because
Yeah.
movie studios they want something that's going to be like guaranteed money, or they want something that's going to cost them zero money to make. Any kind of like originality in between is very hard to get through. So
Yeah.
I would like to see just more originality come through in
Mm.
it for sure.
Yeah, me too. I think that to me, I think it's not worth the risk of ruining a legend
Right.
because sometimes they do. Sometimes if the last thing you watched in, I don't know, Friday 13th or whatever of these, that they have like a million movies, and maybe they ruin what you remember about that movie or the concept that you have about that character because
Sure.
it's like they say with bands, with music bands, they say
Mm-hmm.
that you have to retire when you're at the top, right? So
Yeah.
so you don't ruin your image, your
Mm-hmm.
fame, and people just remember you when you were at the highest, right? I think with legends in horror should be the same. Like leave it there. It's perfect. We all have that romantic slasher thought about it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think it's not worth the risk of ruining
Mm-hmm.
it. Like the
Have you
yeah, what?
have you have you seen Halloween Ends?
Yes.
Oof.
Oof.
Yeah, right. That's a prime example right there. Talk about
Yes,
ruining.
exactly. Or the Texas Chainsaw
Oh, the tech.
Massacre, the last
Uh,
one they made. I mean, there's people that liked it, but there are a
yeah,
lot of people that said, "Ah, why?"
yeah, yeah. I enjoyed that one just for what it was, just Leatherface going around hacking people up. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But I heard Texas Chainsaw fans, so maybe some people it's sacrilege, but to me, I thought it was pretty fun.
Mm. They could always make a video game like The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead,
Yeah.
instead of ruining it with another season, what they've made
Yes.
is to make a video game, which is awesome
There.
because you can be a Kandarian demon and open portals to hell, or you can be one of them, you know?
Love that idea.
Yes, that's awesome. So I think they maybe could find other ways, right? Of
Yeah.
keep talking about something. I don't know.
Sure.
Hmm.
Performs.
And
Put it in video
hmm,
games. Put it in. Sure. It's like it's like what they do with Star Wars. Like back in the day, there used to
I
always be
am.
all kinds. books and comics, and it wasn't just about the movies. It was like a whole just universe out there. It
Yes.
was overwhelming.
Okay, it's so lovely to talk to you, but we need to wrap up.
All right.
Do you have a message for our audience? Some wisdom?
Oh boy, some wisdom. Yeah. When I tell people that that I put my work out there, that I've sent it to literary agents, that I've published it, I talk to a lot of people, some of them who went to school for creative writing. They're just like, wow, that's so awesome. I would never do that because, I'm scared to work out there. I'm scared to, put something that I created out there and get negative feedback or nobody cares or whatever. What I would say is just do it, if you're passionate about something, write it, send it out, put it out there, post it yourself if you have to. That's what I did. I sent my first novel to probably 50 literary agents, heard back from 10. They all said no, but they gave me good feedback. So I appreciated that feedback. I took that as a positive experience. If you're getting rejected, that means you're doing something. Doesn't mean you're just stagnating and sitting there. So I took that feedback, applied it to what I wrote before, said, screw it, do it myself, published it online. And, now I have 3 published books, they're self-published, but whatever. I took the time, I wrote them, I published them, went through the whole process. And, now I can say I'm a published author, but if I had been scared or if I had just taken days off and not stuck with everything, then, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't have anything published. I would be, some guy. So I guess my message is if you want to do something, just say screw it and go out and do it. And don't worry about what anybody else thinks, for sure.
Yes, exactly. I like to think when I want to start something, but you see it like very away, that you lose the courage. I think, look, 1 year from now, I will be so happy I started today.
Yes. Yep. And if you work on something every day for a year, 2 years, 3 years, there's no way you're not going to see some kind of progress. Like, I truly believe that hard work always pays off.
Exactly. Well, that's an amazing advice, but also in life in general.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Never give up and just work hard.
Well, and you having the job that you have, you must see that a lot, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I preach to my clients too at the gym. Hard work always pays off. Consistency is key. So get in here. If you want to do something, if you want to try something new, work on an hour a day, be consistent with it and work hard at it, and you'll go somewhere for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, then thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great talking with you.
That's awesome. We will link everything below. Okay. And keep me updated on all your projects and everything you do.
For sure. Yeah, I will definitely keep you in the loop. Absolutely.
Okay, then thank you so much and have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too. See you next.
Bye-bye.
Bye.